ہے صدا اس کو آواز یہ آتی ہے سکینہ پانی حال ایسا ہے کہ مٹھی میں اٹھائے مٹی حال ایسا ہے کہ مٹھی میں اٹھائے مٹ زیر لب بولتی زیر لب بولتی جاتی ہے سکینہ پانی تشنگی ہے کہ یہ عباس کا دکھ ہے اکبر تشنگی ہے کہ یہ عباس کا دکھ ہے اکبر خاک پہ لے کر خاک پہ لے کر مٹاتی ہے سکینہ پانی پیاسی رہ کر جو بچاتی ہے سکینہ پانی تو عابد پہ گراتی ہے سکینہ پانی پیاسی رہ کر جو اگر صدر موسیٰ صاحب کی صدر صحابی کے لیے باغ بلند صلوات اب میں متوجہ ہوں کہ اپنا آصف بھائی سے کہ آئے باغ امامت میں اپنا نظارہ پیش کریں بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات نعرہ صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد نعرہ صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد سکینہ بڑا اندھیرا ہے یہ کیسی قید ہے بابا یہ کیسی قید ہے بابا بڑا اندھیرا پکاری رو کے سکینہ بڑا اندھیرا ہے میں ایک کونے میں بیٹھی ہوئی ہوں سہمی ہوئی میں ایک کونے میں بیٹھی ہوئی ہوں سہمی ہوئی دکھائی کچھ نہیں دیتا دکھائی کچھ نہیں دیتا بڑا اندھیرا ہے پکاری رو کے سکینہ بڑا
جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، پکاری رو کے سکینہ، بڑا بہن سے ملنے کو آؤ، اگر علی اکبر، بہن سے ملنے کو آؤ، اگر علی اکبر، تو ایک چراغ بھی لانا، تو ایک چراغ بھی لانا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، پکاری رو کے سکینہ، بڑا اندھیرا ہے۔ سب
شیخ سلامتی کے لیے بابا سے بلند صاحبات، اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی محمد وعجل فرجہ۔ اب میں درخواست کروں گا برادر علی باز علی صاحب سے کہ تشریف لائیں اور ایک سلام پیش کریں پر محمد وعلی محمد صلوات۔ اللہم صلی علی
برائے خوشنودی قائم علی محمد بلند تر صلوات۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد
مکل میں کہتی تھی زینب، بھیا بالی سکینہ کہاں ہے، رو مکل میں کہتی تھی زینب، بھیا بالی سکینہ کہاں ہے، اٹھ کے دریا سے عباس آؤ، ساتھ اکبر کو تم لے کے جاؤ، ڈھونڈ کر تم سکینہ کو لاؤ، میری بالی سکینہ کہاں ہے، شاید اصغر کو وہ ڈھونڈتی ہو، کوزہ پانی کا لے کر گئی ہو، سات بھائی کے نہ سو گئی ہو، میری بالی سکینہ کہاں ہے، تو لاش بے سر سے آس آئی، غم نہ کھائے ماں کی جائی، آؤ بہنا بلاتا ہے بھائی، میری بالی سکینہ یہاں ارے روتے روتے جو نیند آ گئی ہے، غم کے طوفان میں وہ کھو گئی ہے، میرے سینے پہ وہ سو گئی ہے، میری بالی سکینہ یہاں ہے، رو رو مقتل میں کہتی تھی زینب، بھیا بالی سکینہ کہاں ہے؟ صلوات
علی عباس بھائی کی صحت و سلامتی کے لیے بآواز بلند صلوات۔ میں درخواست کروں گا افضل بھائی سے کہ تشریف لائیں اور امامت کے اپنا نظام پیش کریں۔ در محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔
محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔
امام زمانہ بلند ترین صلوات۔ تاجل ظہور امام زمانہ علیہ السلام بلند تر
میں نے ایک خواب میں ایسے بھی شرف پائے ہیں، میں نے ایک خواب میں ایسے بھی شرف پائے ہیں کہ مجھ کو مجلس کے لیے لوگ بلا لائے ہیں، مجھ کو مجلس کے لیے لوگ بلا لائے ہیں، اور اے قمر مجھ سے یہ فرماتے ہیں، اے قمر مجھ سے یہ فرماتے ہیں 14 معصوم، اے قمر مجھ سے یہ فرماتے ہیں 14 معصوم، ہم تیرا مرثیہ سننے کے لیے آئے ہیں،
نعرہ صلوات۔
باری باغی سلام۔ حفیظ بھائی کہتے ہیں سکینے کے مسائل پہ باری کا سلام۔ سکینہ نام کے زنداں میں جا پائی، سکینہ جب آئی تو وہ بچی اس اندھیرے گھر کی تاریکی سے گھبرائی، مقدر نے عجب آفت کی پہلی رات دکھلائی، اور زمین تو فرش تھی سایہ فگن تھا چرخ مینائی، زمین تو فرش تھی سایہ فگن تھا چرخ مینائی، ارے پھوپھی کے ساتھ رہتی تھی، نما کے پاس سوتی تھی، برہنہ سر کھڑی زندان کے دروازے پر روتی تھی، سکینہ محمد آل محمد صلی اللہ
اللہم صلی علی محمد
ایک بتاؤ محمد صلی اللہ
اللہم صلی علی محمد محمد
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
اللہم صلی علی محمد
سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو، سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو، قدم قدم پر قدم قدم پہ رلایا گیا سکینہ کو، قدم قدم پہ رلایا گیا سکینہ کو، سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو، وہ اپنا حال یتیمی سنانے آئی تھی، وہ اپنا حال یتیمی سنانے آئی تھی، پیدر کی لاش سے پتھر ہٹانے آئی تھی، ارے لگا کے درے، ارے لگا کے درے ہٹایا گیا سکینہ کو، سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو طلب کیا کسی ظالم نے جب کنیزی میں چھپا لیا اسے زینب نے اپنی گودی میں نہ پوچھو کیسے بچایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو سر حسین کو تکتے تھے عابد مضطر اور تڑپنے لگتی تھی غازی کی لاش دریا پر تماچا جب بھی لگایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو اور رباب بین یہ تربت پہ آ کے کرتی تھی ارے غریب ہو گئی کتنی حسین کی بیٹی کہ گلی گلی میں ارے گلی گلی میں پھرایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا ستایا گیا سکینہ کو قدم قدم پہ رلایا گیا سکینہ کو سمجھ کے زہرا اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات فاتحہ محمد و آل محمد صلوات
تھوڑا تھوڑا آگے بڑھیں تاکہ بعد میں آنے والے
سب سے درخواست ہے کہ سورہ فاتحہ ہمارے حفیظ بھائی کے جو مرحومین ہیں اس کے
محمد وعلى محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
سر جو شبیر کا زندان میں لائے خدا سر جو شبیر کا، زندان میں لائے خدا، بھائی کے سر کو کیا زینب مجتر میں سلام، گرفتار سلاسل جو زمانے اٹھا تعظیم کو لے کر شہ مظلوم کرنا، اٹھا تعظیم کو لے کر شہ مظلوم کرنا، دشت حلقے میں لیے کشتہ غم رونے لگے، سر شبیر کو دیکھا تو حرم رونے لگے، سر شبیر کو دیکھا تو حرم رونے لگے، سب نے ماتم کیا مل کر ہوئے مجلس بپا، چوم کر سر کو عقیدت سے یہ زینب نے کہا، دکھ اٹھائے ہیں بہت غم سے بچھڑ کر بھیا، اپنی آغوش میں سر والی سکینہ نے لیا، اپنی آغوش میں سر والی سکینہ نے لیا، رو رہے تھے سبھی رکتے ہی کہاں تھے، سر شبیر کی آنکھوں سے رواں تھے، سر شبیر کی آنکھوں سے رواں تھے آنسو، حال کہنے کا یہ لمحہ جو سکینہ کو ملا، سر شبیر کو سینے سے لگا کر یہ کہا، چھوڑ کر ہم کو گئے آپ کہاں ہے بابا، آپ کے بعد ستم ٹوٹے ہیں ہم پر کیا کیا، آپ کے بعد ستم ٹوٹے ہیں ہم پر کیا کیا، میرے رخسار پر جو نیلے آیا ہے بابا، یہ میرے منہ پہ تماچوں کے نشان ہے بابا، یہ میرے منہ پہ تماچوں کے نشان ہے بابا، آپ میدان کو سدھارے تو بڑا ظلم ہوا، آگ خیموں میں لگی جل گیا سامان سارا، چھن گئے میرے گوہر جل گیا میرا گردہ، روتی پھرتی تھی میں اس دشت بلا میں تنہا، روتی پھرتی تھی میں اس دشت بلا میں تنہا، نہ دیا ہم کو کسی نے بھی سہارا بابا، پوچھتا کوئی نہ تھا حال ہمارا بابا، پوچھتا کوئی نہ تھا حال ہمارا بابا، روتے روتے ہوئی خاموش سکینہ ایک بار، کہا زینب نے کہ میں تیری مصیبت کے نثار، آ میری گود میں آ جا میری پیاری دلدار، پر سکینہ نہیں لی اپنی جگہ سے پر سکینہ نہیں لی اپنی جگہ سے زنہار، شاملی باپ سے وہ باپ کی پیاری بچے، ارے چل بسی شام کے زندہ میں دلاری بچے، چل بسی شام کے زندہ
में दुलारी बच्ची सर जो शब्बीर का
बर मोहम्मद आल मोहम्मद
अबू जर भाई की शर्त समाप्ति के लिए बाबा से बुलंद सलावत Before I invite Balance up to the member, and I would request one Surah Fatiha and 3 Surah Ikhlas for all the Marumeen of Hafeez Bhai and Huma Bhabi, along with all the Ulama Kiram, Shuhada Islam, as well as particularly for those people who have nobody to recite Fatiha on their behalf. We are honored to have Sheikh Madaris with us. It's an honor and a blessing for us to have him here as a speaker, inshallah. So with your loud salawat, I would request Sheikh Madaris to please come to the member. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
नारे तकबीर, नारे रिसालत,
या रसूलल्लाह,
नारे हैदरी, हैदरी, हुसैनियत, यजीदियत, नारे सलावत, अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद। मुनीर कराम प्लीज थोड़ा थोड़ा आगे हो जाए, हफीज भाई रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं। काफी लोग अंदर आएंगे,
जरा आगे हो।
आगे भैया
बहुत मौलवी तरीके सही है, ज़्यादा नहीं है।
माजिले ज़ोहर इमाम ज़मान अलैहिस्सलाम बुलंद कर
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
मोहम्मद आल मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
Let's inshallah recite Surah Fatiha for all the marhumeen of the host of the Majlis and the sponsor, especially for marhumeen Sayyid Ali Zahid Shah, Shafiun Nisa Begum, Zakiya Banu, Nuzhat Banu, Azizul Hussain bin Grami, and all the marhumeen of our brother Hafeez with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. For the honor of Imam of our time, and for the honor of the Holy Prophet and his Immaculate progeny Ahlul Bayt, recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين، سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين، واللعن دائم على أعدائهم أعداء الله أجمعين من الآن إلى لقاء يوم الدين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: يوم لا تنفع الظالمين معذرتهم ولهم اللعنة ولهم سوء الدار. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Let's purify our souls, illuminate our hearts with the beautiful name of our beloved Prophet and his progeny, and with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the final days of month of Muharram, according to the moon sighting, tomorrow will be the final day of month of Muharram, and Friday will be the beginning of the messenger of Karbala, the flag bearer of Imam Hussein message after Ashura, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, and Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, for the honor of the family of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. The society the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I believe that it's very important to know what is the topic of the lecture about in order to have an idea after the minbar, to recall and also remember some of the main points of that speech and lecture. Otherwise, to the number of people who are sitting here, I will be responsible in the day of judgment, saying to Allah that I took, at least I would say here, and we have around 50 people listening, and more than that maybe who are watching online or later on. So what did I do with that time? What we will be discussing for a few minutes is the art of apology in Islam, the etiquette of apologizing and asking for pardon in Islam. And I come to that why this topic matters, why I chose it. But before we get there, it's very important to examine one of the issues of our time, and that is that there are people who are the lovers of Ahlul Bayt, and we cannot deny it. Those who participate in the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they express the emotions of grief and sadness. But is it possible to be among those people, and God forbid, be among those who not follow the purpose and the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam? And the answer to that is yes, because this happened in the past. This happened after Ashura, in the year 61st after Hijrah, as well as what we can see is still happening since that time. And that is those who cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, those who felt that sense of sadness. But ultimately this emotion, unfortunately, does not lead them to understand the importance of Aza for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And I want to keep it very summarized and brief, that the Aza of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, without understanding that main statement we make in Ziyarat Ashura. We know all that. We've been reciting that Ziyarat hundreds of times, if not thousands. And that is Inni silmun liman salamakum, wa harbun liman harabakum, wa waliyun liman walakum, wa aduwun liman vendetta against anyone. There is nothing personal in this when it comes to us. This is not me making a decision who to love, who to dislike. It's not a matter of pity and feeling sorry for someone. Rather, all of them is about the Imam. And this kum, which is plural, is not just referring to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but we're referring to the status of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. As we have in Ziyarat Ashura, that we ask Allah to be among those who help Imam Mansur min Ahl Bayt Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah to be among those who support and help the Imam that is supported and backed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, referring to the Imam of our time. And as you know, the word Mahdi that we add, it was not part of the original Ziyarat Ashura. We add the word Mahdi in it. The one is Imam. Imam in Hudan, Zahirin, Bil Haqq minkum. And some people, because we're living during the time of Imam of our time, they say Mahdi and Zahirin Bil Haqq minkum. So why this matters? Because after Ashura we see people who started uprising against Bani Umayyah. In the year 65 after Hijrah, we have the uprising of Tawabin, repenters, those who were seeking some form of justice for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but also they knew that they didn't do their best to support the Imam of their time. They abandoned the Imam because people like Habib ibn Madahir and Muslim ibn Awsajid, they were also from Kufa, but they found their way to get to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and many didn't. They said, oh, you know, there are soldiers outside. So later on they regretted that decision, that being idle and being ultimately failing the Imam of their time on their terms. So they decided to rise against Bani Umayyah. And they were unfortunately they were ultimately defeated, and many of them were killed and martyred as well. But we don't hear as much about that. And those who were part of the Tawabin movement in comparison with the Ashab of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Another uprising is in Medina, and that was a lack of leadership from an Imam. What made Karbala stand out and what made Ashab of Imam Hussein alayhi salam unique is that it was not a personal agenda for them to do something. It was them answering to the call of their Imam. And that is something we should take to heart and us a lot. It causing us division in our communities. It causing people to be distracted by those disputes, focusing on the fruits. They're focusing on all these weeds that they are growing around these majalis. And the issue comes back to one thing, is that if we are saying that we are silmun liman salamakum, that we had that scent of taslim. Sil means we are peace with those who are peace with Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and also this is the concept of submission, that we are submitted to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in order to find truth we need to follow and submit to the teaching of the Prophet, as we recite in Inna Allah wa malaikatahu in Surah Al-Ahzab, وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. The ending of that is that we're going to surrender, we're going to submit, we're going to listen fully to what Prophet has to say. In other words, if it comes to a moment that I have an opinion and Prophets have an opinion, whose word will go first? Prophet's word, not my opinion or my desires or what I like or dislike. And that's, I would say, something that we need to every Muharram remind ourselves of that. Because those other movements, they were great. They were against the oppressed, against the oppressor, and it was by the oppressed. But ultimately the result was not the ultimate result, because the leadership was not the leadership of the Imam. When Imam alayhi salam asked for them to rise, they didn't. And when Imam Zain al-Abidin said to sit down, still they stood up. So the call of the Imam is the one who defines the direction that we're supposed to move. And that's why it's important to recite Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira as an encyclopedia of Shi'ism and Imamat. Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira of Imam Mahdi teaches us. What we say in Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira, Imam alayhi salam is teaching us any ziyarah you go to, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Holy Prophet, or all the way to Imam al-Askari, any ziyarah you go is recommended to recite Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira. If you ask any of our maraji, any of our great ulama, when they go to ziyarah, if there is one ziyarah, if they have time to recite, they would not go with the traditional ziyarah that we go when we open the ziyarah book. They will recite Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira. It's a bit longer, but it has a profound impact on the soul of someone who wants to be a Shia, a follower of the Imam. Because we say in Ziyarat al-Jami' Kabira, what should we inshallah adhere to and believe in, is that وَاللَّازِمُ لَكُمْ, there are those that they're with you, we're referring to the Ahlul Bayt, and there are those that they're behind and separated from you. And we say, Ya Allah, those who are with the Ahlul Bayt, they are the guided ones. Those who stick with them, those who join them, they are with the truth. And those who stayed behind and separated their way from the Ahlul Bayt, mariq, they're lost, they're confused, they're misguided. And on the majalis of Imam Hussein, we ask ourselves that question. Is that something that Imam of our time wanted us to do or not? Is this my opinion or this is what ulama, which again we believe they are teaching us the word of the Imams. No alim has the right to give his personal opinion and undermine the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So if they are approving something, we stick with it. And I give examples hundreds of times. If our Maraji are saying this practice is wrong, we should stick with the word of our Maraji. It's not because they have a personal gain and interest in it. It's because ultimately they're communicating with us what would be the teachings of our religion. When it comes, again, I am at peace with anyone who loves Imam Hussein alayhi salam, without a doubt. But it doesn't stop me from saying the truth when I have to. If somebody comes in the Majlis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and it's the salat time, it's the prayer time, and they stay outside, they don't pray. In the time of Majlis-e-Aza, they do. Of course, I'm not going to mock them. Of course, I'm not going to belittle them or anything. But one thing we should tell them, my dear brothers, is that this is not what Imam of our time wants, and this is not what Imam Hussein alayhi salam would have approved of. If you get it, you get it. If not, you love Imam Hussein alayhi salam on your terms. Like Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the way you like. And it's fine, inshallah, it will benefit you partially. But if you want to benefit from the life of Abu Abdullah, you need to follow that light all the way to the end. Not to just cherry pick, I like this part and I don't like the other part. That is too difficult, this is too easy. So I said this as a beginning to make a point that the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam should be something that we take to the heart. And from tomorrow I make a decision that this topic that I'm going to talk about is according to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and Quran. I'm not here to share my personal opinion. I will support the evidence and the content from the teaching of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So based on that, when I hear and listen, put aside my feelings, my emotions, my likes and dislikes, because this moment, it comes the moment of taslim, that we need to surrender and submit to the teaching of Allah through the words of Allah in Quran, through the words of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Now that we have this settled and kind of established, ayah that I recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran said there are apologies that will not be accepted. يَوْمَ لَا تَنْفَعُ الظَّالِمِينَ مَعْذِرَتُهُم. Allah said when the day of judgment comes, those who are zalim, those who are unjust, wrongdoers is translation, but zalim, we know again because of madlum and zalim. Zalim is the one who's committing oppression and dhulm. Meaning that when you commit injustice, when you are taking away somebody's right, when you undermine someone's or something's haqq and right, that is dhulm. And Allah said, when the day of judgment comes, that day apology will not benefit the oppressors. The day of judgment, when they see the reality of what life was about, and now that all the answers are revealed, Allah said that apology doesn't matter. It's too late. As even when it comes to tawbah, Allah in the Quran said, وَلَيْسَتِ التَّوْبَةُ لِلَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ حَتَّى إِذَا حَضَرَ أَحَدَهُمُ الْمَوْتِ. Yes, the open of Allah's, the door of Allah's mercy is open. We should give hope. Majlis of Hussein should be the time that we remind people, not only hur, we have in some narrations more than 30 people join Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura. Some join after the shahadat of Imam al-Hussein's companion. But the door of Allah's mercy is open. And the Imam salam is the manifestation of that mercy. If Prophet is rahmatan lil alameen, we say, Allah said, Inna arsalnaka rahmatan lil alameen. O Messenger, we indeed send you as mercy for mankind. When it comes to Abu Abdullah Hussein, we say, Ya rahmatallahi al-wasi'ah. Ya Hussein, you are that extended door of Allah's mercy. So we should give that hope. But Allah says Himself in the Quran, repentance is not for those that they continue on their bad deeds. They continue on their habits of breaking the laws of Allah until death becomes present before their eyes, until they see death with their eyes. Meaning you postpone it to the point that is, okay, I know I'm going to die. According to that, Allah said, لَيْسَتِ التَّوْبَةِ Tawbah is not for you. But beside that, until death is not near, death is not imminent, or let's call it definite, then Tawbah is acceptable. And Allah in the other ayah said, when the day of judgment comes, there's no apology. There's no point, there's no benefit. La tanfa means there's no benefit. It's not useful. Ma'adhiratuhum, their apologies, they're asking for pardon. Lahumul la'na, upon them would be the la'an of Allah, meaning they lost Allah's mercy. They will be deprived of His mercy. Why? Because when you look at the Quran, Allah said, Inna Allah la yuhibbu al-zalimeen. Allah doesn't love those who are zalim. If somebody is zalim, an oppressor, Quran clearly said Allah doesn't love you. Allah is so merciful, but if you stay in the state of zulm until you die, you lost Allah's love. وَلَهُمْ سُوءُ الدَّارِ. And Allah said, what a bad place they chose. They have a bad abode waiting for them. Why I say this, my brothers and sisters, we're still here. The day Yawmul Qiyamah is not here. Meaning that benefit of apology is still applicable. Once death comes, it's too late. But until we're alive, ma'adhiratuhum, ma'adhira, is still is beneficial. So let's talk about the art of apology. In apology, there are few sides that we should know of, right? One is the one who is making the mistake, the one who is the wrongdoer, the one who's at fault. And then we have the apology itself, the etiquette of apology. And then the third side is the one who's receiving the apology, the one who's being apologized to. So these are the three pieces when it comes to apology. The one who apologizes, basically the form of apology and what are we apologizing about, what's the subject of apology, and lastly is acceptance or rejection of apology. And a reference for that, because we're sitting in a majalis, and I said we dedicate to Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, is Sayfi Sajjadi. I want you to look up Dua number 38 of Sayfi Sajjadiyah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran talks about apology, talks about repentance and tawbah, Imam Zain al-Abidin opens this up. Give us more details, more content to work with. So Dua number 38 is known as Dua al-I'tidhar. It's not that very long. It's probably the entire Dua is maybe 6 line or 7 line. It's such a short Dua. And i'tidhar meaning asking for forgiveness. Meaning you're asking for pardon. You're apologizing. And of course we believe Imam alayhi salam is ma'soom, without a doubt. But even an Imam alayhi salam who's ma'soom, still in their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how much good they do, they consider their good insufficient, because the one you're doing work for is Allah. Meaning that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is in worship and prayers, is not that because God forbid he committed sin. No, he didn't. But why he would go the extra mile and he would do additional prayers, mustahab prayers, to a point that his feet would swell. Why? Because the Prophet of Allah and his relationship with Allah is the one who's more aware than anyone else about the greatness of God. And understand that no matter how much you do, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. Allah says this is not just for us, it's for all humanity. Allah says, if you try to enumerate my blessings, that what I blessed you with, what I granted you, what I offered you, لَا تُحْصُوهَا, you will fail. You will not be able to keep track of it. And that's including the Imam alayhi salam. Meaning that the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given that status is because of their admission to their insignificance before God. That's why they have such a high status. You know, there is a saying, it's a poetic way, but there's a good way. If you have, I don't know, some beautiful china in your house, everything loses its value. The only thing that when it breaks actually become more valuable is our heart. Why is that? Or even our ego, when it breaks it become more valuable. Because that's the step forward to admitting that before Allah, Ilahi wa Rabbi malli ghayrak. Ya Allah, what do I have? What do I have before you? And the more we worship, it should give us more understanding that no matter how much I do, I'm not going to settle the score with Allah. And Sayyid Sajjadi is a reminder of that. The Imam Zainul Abidin said, Ya Allah, that even when I pray to you, that ability to pray is from you. So I still am in negative with you, because who gave me the strength? Who gave me the intellect? Who gave me the awareness to find that I need to worship you? You did. So still is going to be a deficit with you in my relationship with you. And this is the genuine belief of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. That no matter how much they've done is nothing. It is nothing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You heard that the story of Musa alayhi salam. Allah told him, Ya Musa, go find something among my creation that is lower than a status than you. That is lower in position before me. And you can say, okay, this, I am higher than him before Allah. So the narration says that he went and started looking. Among people, he didn't find anyone that he can with confidence say that I am better. Allah knows. I don't know about the future. Nothing. Nothing is definite. So he went among animals and he saw a dog who was filled with fleas and had illnesses and smelled very bad. And everybody literally will cover their noses walking by its side, try to go around it. He said, okay, maybe I am better than this. For a moment contemplated, but eventually said no. Because this is a dog that was created without aql, without intellect. Allah is not going to hold him accountable the way he will me. So he went in his Kalimullah, in his conversation with Allah, said, Ya Allah, I did not find anyone who can I say confidently I was better. So what Allah said, Ya Musa, if you brought any answer beside this, you would have lost that status as a prophet of God. So this is the admission of all the prophets of God. It's not that they pretend, God forbid. Because I've seen people said, when Imam Ali said, Zalamtu nafsi, I wronged myself, Ya Allah, Imam Ali didn't do anything wrong. So why is saying Zalamtu nafsi is teaching us? I get it, I respect that opinion. Our ulama, some of them say. But I believe the one that is actually works with the character of Ahlul Bayt. They're genuine. They're real and sincere. There's no pretending. Imam Ali, as he's reciting Munajat, Imam Ali in Masjid al-Kufa, right? We, inshallah, at least once a year in Ramadan, we go to that Munajat, right? Mawlaya ya Mawlaya. Ali ibn Abi Talib says what? Anta al-qawiyyu wa ana al-dha'if. We, our children, our youth, we're Dhul Fiqar, right? Imam Ali is the one that we know as a mighty warrior. Is the one that we know as a symbol of bravery, shaja'ah. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Ya Allah, this is not pretending, as I said. This is as real as I can get. This is the taqwa, this is the iman of Ali alayhi salam. He said, Ya Allah, you are the one with the strength. You are the strong, and Ali is the weak. Ali is dha'if. وَهَلْ يَرْحَمُ الضَّعِيفَ إِلَّا الْقَوِيِّ. Who will, beside the strong, will have mercy upon the weak. So remember that Ali ibn Abi Talib, the whole dua is like that. أَنْتَ الْعَالِمُ وَأَنَا الْجَاهِلُ. The man of eloquence, the man of wisdom and hikmah, said, Ya Allah, you are the knowledgeable and Ali is the ignorant. And this is what he believed, because in comparison with Allah's knowledge, the more you serve Allah, the more you admit to your, we call it, I'm asking for forgiveness. Although as the Imam, he did everything in his power and ability, but knowing that no matter how much you do before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's much more. That's why, again, people, I remember, I believe if it was a 5 or 6 year old who asked me, said, Shaykh, do we believe that Prophet is in heaven? I said, yeah, and inshallah, barzakh, and yes, heaven. Yes, he will be in heaven no matter what. So if he's in heaven, why we say salawat for him? He doesn't need our salawat. He's going to go to heaven anyway, so what's the point? We do good things to get to heaven. What's the reason we say salawat for the Prophet? It's a good question. And the answer to that is that no matter how much we say salawat, still there is room for Prophet to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no way that they said, okay, he met the cap. Yes, in comparison with the rest of creation, he is khayrul khalq. He is the best of creation. In comparison with other human beings, he is ashraful anbiya. He is the one that is the most noble of all the prophets and all the creation, without a doubt. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's still room. Allah is no limit for Allah. So to get closer to the one who has no limit, there is no limit to get closer. Because that's one, even though those who are in heaven, they don't say, oh, we saw the end of their story. Because for Allah, there is no limit. Doesn't matter whatever you say, we're going to live in heaven forever and ever. We think, okay, it's going to get boring. But remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a book who has an ending. هو الأول قبل الأول الآخر بعد الآخر. He was the one before any beginning, and he's going to be there after every ending. So for that reason we say salawat, because our salawat is going to benefit our Prophet. Is getting closer in the status of close proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In return, this is the command of Allah. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Allah is doing that for His messenger as well, to honor his status. So bringing us to the dua, number 38 of Sayf al-Sajjadiyya, the first one, Imam alayhi salam is asking for pardon and teaching all of us, inshallah, to follow in his footsteps. Is that one thing that all of these apologies and asking for pardon is about people. Because sometimes the dhulm is when we commit against Allah. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. Right? Believing in anyone beside Allah as a partner, as an associate with Allah, is shirk, is polytheism. And that is the greatest dhulm. Shirk, dhulmun azim, Allah referred to it. The greatest form of injustice is to give the title of Allah to someone who is not worthy except Him. La ilaha. That's why we start with the negative in the Shahada, right? There is no God except Him, except Allah. We clear everything, we clear the ground before bringing Allah to our iman and heart. So that is one dhulm. And there's the dhulm we commit against ourselves, right? The dhulm against ourselves in Surah Al-Imran, Allah said, who are the muttaqeen, people of taqwa and piety? Allah said they are the one who swallow their angers, right? They're the one who give in the way of Allah in open and in private, in the easy time and the hard time. Allah said these are muttaqeen. And also said, who are the pious people? الَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهِ. Those who, when they commit indecent act, when those who are oppressing themselves, they are unjust to themselves, they remember Allah and ask for forgiveness. That is also a form of dhulm to ourselves. When I watch something on Netflix or any other platform that I'm not supposed to, I'm hurting myself. That's dhulm to myself. When I listen to something, oh, why Allah has so much against music? Why Islam says don't listen to that? Okay, brother, at the end of the day, the biggest price that you pay is your own soul. It's going to affect you and influence you. If you listen to it or not, it doesn't make a difference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same as with so many rules and laws, there is ultimately is injustice against self. But this one is asking Allah not about those two. Because in those two, in Dua Kumel, we ask Allah for forgiveness. Allah, ظَلَمْتُ nafsi, I wronged myself, I hurt myself. And I ask Allah for forgiveness. And with Allah, alhamdulillah, we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah in every adhan and iqamah, and we do it in our salat, and inshallah in our belief, we are muwahid, monotheists. So it's not about those two type of dhulm. It brings us to the third form, which is injustice against people. I talked about dhulm in depth in Zainabiyya. Many of you, or some of you were there. I'm not going to repeat myself, but the point is, the apologies that we see in this dua is all about others. It's about other people. It's about haqq. It's about rights. And if someone can teach us about rights, is Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Risalatul Huquq, Treaties of Right, is just the pinnacle of elaborating what are the rights that we are responsible for. What should we keep in mind in our relationship with ourselves and with people around us. So all of them is haqqun nas, people's right. And asking Allah for forgiveness if we neglected those rights. So the first one Imam alayhi salam is asking is from someone who was oppressed, someone who was wrong. And when injustice happened, I did nothing to help the one who was oppressed. So Ya Allah, forgive me for that. Not that I was an oppressor. For those who were oppressed, but for whatever limitation or whatever excuse I had, I was not able to help the one who was oppressed. This is the art of apology, because sometimes we usually think about apology. If I stole something, I have to apologize. But if somebody was robbed before me, it's not my fault. I didn't steal. What do you want me to do? If I was the one perpetrating a crime, okay, I need to apologize. But if I supported a zalim by my silence, right? By doing nothing. I saw the abuse and I did nothing. I didn't try my best to stop it. If I had the ability to stop it, if I had the ability to speak up, if not, at least make a change in the situation. At least go and help the oppressed. Let's say my strength didn't match the oppressor, they were too strong, I couldn't do anything. At least I could have gone and helped the Muslim. If they fell on the ground, at least help them stand up. So sometimes what happens, we see dhulm, and I don't want to, when I say dhulm, don't only think about a sword on someone, a typical scenario of dhulm. A dhulm could come in shapes and form. A husband who can oppress his wife. The other way around, a wife who oppress her husband. Parents who oppress their children. Children who oppress their parents. Community who oppress one another. The leaders of the community who oppress the members of the community, or the members who are ungrateful to the leaders. It could be in so many shapes and forms. These are all dhulm. Because when the haq is that somebody didn't deserve to be treated a certain way, and but they were. They were insulted, they were mocked. Did they deserve that? No. What did I do to stop it? They were making fun of this person in front of me, backbiting, gossiping, and I did nothing. So okay, I'm not gonna involve myself. The least I could have done was to shut it down. Okay, let's not talk about this. Even if what you say is true, is ghaiba. If even what you say is right, they're not here to defend themselves, so stop it. Or walk away as a protest. The art of apologies, my brothers and sisters, first is to own the mistake. The first step in Islamic concept is that we need to understand, when should I apologize? Because the most difficult part is to understand that I did something wrong. Because some people live in denial. Just deny, it wasn't my fault. If we were living in a world that people would admit to their mistakes, I promise you, we will have such an easier time to reconcile, to bring people back together. In marriage issues, when there is divorce, when there is problem, two sides comes and no side will admit to their mistakes. It's not my fault, it's her fault. It's not my fault, it's his fault. It's her family, it's his family's fault. There's nothing. It could be a case that is not your fault, yes. But are we saying that if there are not situations that we are partially responsible? Maybe again, it's not all my fault, but 50%, 70% is my fault. 10% is my fault. Would I admit to it or no? The easiest way is to blame others. It's easiest. Remember in the time of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, Yazid. You know, Ibn Ziyad and Yazid, they went to the point to even put their crimes on Allah. Not owning what they did. Ibn Ziyad, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, brought Imam alayhi salam before Ibn Ziyad. And Ibn Ziyad said, who's this man? I thought we killed all of them, all their men. So this is Ali ibn al-Hussein, Ali son of Hussein. So I thought Allah killed Ali son of Hussein in Karbala. And Imam Zain al-Abidin responded, that was my older brother, you and your soldiers killed him. So no, that was Allah punishing you and your family for going against Amir al-Mu'minin Yazid. And Imam alayhi salam said, no, that was you and your orders. So we have that he ordered his soldiers to sever the head of Imam alayhi salam. Said we should have done this earlier, kill him. Zainab Salamullah alayha was the one who shielded Imam alayhi salam and said, if you were going to kill him, first you have to kill me. You killed enough of my men. So there was an audience, he changed his mind, he said, I'm not going to. We already have enough issue in our hand. Take them away. And Imam Zainab at that moment, he said, my aunt Zainab, let me talk to him. Imam continued. He said, Ya ibn Ziyad, O son of Ziyad, Nahnu, he said, we are the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Al-qatlu adatuna. To be killed is a norm for us. My father Hussein, my uncle Hassan, my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib, my great uncles Hamza, Jafar, adatuna. Wa karamatuna ash-shahada. Our nobility is sacrificing for the way of Allah. So meaning your threats are empty. You can't do anything. What is on you is on you. You cannot put Allah in this. Similar statement was made by Yazid, by people of Sham, that Allah did this to you. Allah protected Yazid. And Imam alayhi salam refuted this multiple times. Why? Because an easy way to get away with your mistakes is to blame something else. We make bad mistakes. Again, unfortunately, we have among our youth, unfortunately, drug issues. We have different form of addictions. And what I see is that the first step is, it wasn't my fault. My parents were abusive. No, I wasn't weak. There was something going on. I was mistreated here or that, and I understand. Trauma affects us, influences us, put us at disadvantage. But at the end of the day, we can say I had no responsibility. No one forced me into that way. And I'm not the only one who was hurt. Take that partial responsibility. I've seen people 40 years old still blame their parents for lack of success in their career. I asked my dad when I was 20, give me money to go to college. He didn't. I asked him to give me money to start my business and they didn't. My brother, it's the time to own. It was your life. You cannot be entitled for everyone and everything around you to be about you. Okay, they didn't help you. You were at disadvantage. What you've done with your life? You should have been a few years behind to catch up for what you wanted. So owning the mistakes is important. Not blaming Allah. Making bad decisions. I've had this example. People call me, Shaykh, can you do istikhara? And the first thing I ask for istikhara is, did you do research, tahqiq, about the decision you're making? So yeah, I did research. So okay, did it help you to make a decision? No, it was still undecided, 50-50. So okay, did you consult? No, I didn't do consultation. So okay, talk to the people, whatever your decision is about. Talk to the people who are experts of that. If still you were uncertain and still puzzled, still mystified, you didn't know what to do, then istikhara is the third choice. Don't skip steps in the process of making decisions. The issue is, sometimes what they want, they already made the decision. They already did, some of it. And I know because later on they tell me they did. They already, let's say they are in a relationship with someone. And they ask consultation say it's not good. You're going to put your life at risk, your future at jeopardy. They researched, it didn't show a lot of, there was a lot of red flags. So let's just skip it, istikhara. If istikhara said yes, nobody can say anything. I did istikhara. Istikhara said it's good, so I'm going to do it. This is for what? to escape the responsibility. It's your decision. At least be strong enough, confident enough to say, okay, this is my decision. I'm going to live with the consequences. I'm not saying you should, but if you want to, at least live on your own terms. And if you fail, don't say, oh, because you not only put your situation at risk, you're also putting people's iman at test. Because we say, oh, he did istikhara, she did istikhara, now things didn't go well. When the reality was you already making the decision. And same as about any other situation, that we're asking for approval. Shaykh, what do you think? And I say no, for example, if the answer is negative, based on understanding. So, okay. Then they try to convince me that, okay, can you change your yes, no to a yes? For whatever decision that may be, right? Is it halal, Shaykh, if I go to this restaurant and invest in this company and do that? And I say, okay, tell me what is it. And once I have the details, I say, no, it's not, for example. It's haram. So, no, Shaykh, are you really sure? Is there a way to work it out? And I said, brother, sister, are you here to ask for the answer? Or are you here to get an approval? If you're asking for approval, again, you can say, as Shaykh Madawi said, yes, but in reality, I said no. But in the day of judgment, my approval is not going to change anything. When it comes to the consequences, you and I, we have to answer for ourselves. No one can carry the burden. You can say, Shaykh Madawi told me. I told you what I was according to the teaching of our faith. That is number one. Imam Zain said, Ya Allah, I'm asking for pardon when it comes to injustice happening before my eyes and I did nothing about it. Just make sure when you see injustice, be mindful of how much you know about a situation. Because sometimes we try to fix a problem. Let's say, okay, you try to come out of a hole and you fall into a well. So make sure you don't make the situation worse. Let's say if you don't know what's exactly going on. Until you're not certain, please don't make the situation worse. Somebody's angry, they just had a fight with their spouse. So, oh, you know, this is the worst marriage and all that. Maybe at the heat of the moment they're saying something. Please don't be the one calling the families, involving people you're not supposed to involve, and putting them in front of a decision that they have to already divorce because you made it public. Maybe they were just venting with you. Be sure, then help them. Then don't make a decision for them. Consult them that how they can get help. If they, God forbid, they're abused, how we can help them without making a decision for them. Second and third, and I finish with that. Usaid salawat ala Muhammad wa وَمِن مَعْرُوفٍ أُسْدِيَ إِلَيَّ فَلَمْ أَشْكُرْهُ. Ya Allah, forgive me. I'm asking for pardon for a blessing that I received, for a favor that I received and I was not grateful for. Meaning, Ya Allah, forgive me if I was not a grateful person. Sometimes this blessing comes from Allah through people. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam says, من لم يشكر المنعم من المخلوقين لم يشكر الخالق. The one who's ungrateful to the creation of Allah, who is helping, who is giving you something, who is generous. If you're ungrateful to them, you will not be able to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot be grateful to the people you see with your own eyes. That they are tangible, they are noticeable. And you can imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you fail in the first one. First, we face Qibla, is a physical location. Once you face that physical direction, then, Ya Allah, now, qurbatan ilallah, and now, there is from the zahir to the batin, from the outside, outward to the inward. So start with people. If you want to be grateful to Allah, start with people. If somebody helped you, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam talks about the rights of your teacher, the rights of your companion, the one who sit next to you, sahib, the rights of your parents, the rights of your wife, husband, spouse. These are people who help you in some shape and form. If you're ungrateful to them, how can we be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Ya Allah, forgive me if I receive a blessing or favor and I was not grateful. And the final one from this dua, which our time inshallah we conclude, وَمِن مُسِيءٍ اِعْتَذَرَ إِلَيَّ فَلَمْ أَعْذِرْهُ. Ya Allah, forgive me. I'm apologizing. If somebody apologized to me, they asked forgiveness from me and I refused to accept it. Ya Allah, forgive me for that. So I'm apologizing about not accepting apology myself. That brings me to the three sides that I mentioned. In an apology, the art of apology. Number one is that the one who apologizes has to admit that I was wrong. I made a mistake. Own it. The subject of apology, three of them we mentioned. When we see injustice and we do nothing about it. When we are receiving a blessing or favor and we are not grateful. And when we are being apologized to and we are the one receiving the apology and we refuse to accept. This is the subject of apology. And then the third one, the one who receives the apology, what's the responsibility? Obviously, I tell you three traditions, and if these are not enough to convince us to be easygoing with people who are making mistakes regarding us, I don't know what is strong enough to do it. First one from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam narrates that لا يعتذر إليك أحد إلا قبلت عذره. Don't let anyone come to you and apologize unless you accept their excuse. Let me give you the continuation. وَإِنْ عَلِمْتَ أَنَّهُ كَاذِبٌ. Even if you know they're lying in their apology. Even if you know they're not really sorry. You've seen children, especially teenagers. Somebody forces them to go and apologize to your dad. Mom, uncle, someone. And with their, mashallah, pride, they come to you. Dad, I'm sorry. With the tone that you are, waiting, not for an apology, right? I'm sorry. If you took it a wrong way, which I think you shouldn't, but I'm sorry. The first thing we say, you don't mean it, get out of here. I don't like it. Imam alayhi salam says, when somebody comes and apologizes, don't make it too long. They made enough courage to apologize. Accept it, even if they're not sincere in their apology. That's one tradition. Second tradition from Prophet. Prophet said if somebody is being apologized to and they refuse to accept the apology, somebody wronged you. Let's say if somebody's blocking your car in the Majlis-e-Aza, I've seen some people losing their mind over that for some reason. They wrong you and they say, I'm sorry, I blocked you, and you've been waiting for 15 minutes. Your apology doesn't fix the problem. You wasted 15 minutes of my life. As if, we didn't waste 15 minutes of our life ever, right? It's just going to be a short sample of Instagram that is going to take 30 minutes, right? At that moment, Prophet said, if somebody is apologizing and you don't accept, you will not enter upon me Hawza Kawthar, in the Hawza Kawthar. You will not. The other tradition said, La tanalu shafa'ati, you will not receive my intercession. Why? What is intercession about? Shafa'ah. Isn't that shafa'ah meaning that I made mistakes? I basically capped all the other ways to get Allah's forgiveness. Now I need an additional route by the honor of the Prophet. I will beg you, Allah forgive me. Isn't that in a form of apology? So the Prophet said, I will not be the one taking your apology to Allah if you don't accept somebody else's apology. My shafa'ah will not get to you. I tell you, those of you who are single and those of you who are married, if you don't learn to accept apologies in marriage, prepare yourself for a very, very uncomfortable life. Uncomfortable. Because sooner or later, you will make mistakes and your spouse will make. Of course, I'm not talking about, God forbid, big mistakes. And everybody have the haqq, right? I'm not talking about infidelity and things like that. I'm not that open-minded yet. Allah knows in a few years. I'm not talking about infidelity. I'm talking about other mistakes. You promised to do this and you did it and you forgot something. Typical mundane topics that sometimes couples have argument about. If you're not ready to forgive, be ready for a life that is filled with misery. You will not enjoy your life anymore. This is what the teaching of Ahlul Bayt is about. Learn how to apologize. But the disclaimer, asking for apology, owning your mistake is not an excuse to make mistakes. Imam Ali said, Iyaka, I'm warning you about doing something that forces you to apologize later. There is a saying that I think it says, what is it? Somebody can help me with that. Do it first, ask for forgiveness later, right? Something like that. Rather than asking for permission, do it first and then apologize later. This is against the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt said, don't do something that makes you apologize later. So the best solution is to prevent. Imam al-Sadiq said, do not humiliate yourself. A mu'min should not humiliate. When they ask how a mu'min can humiliate himself, Imam said, when you do something that you end up asking forgiveness or saying sorry for. So it's not, oh, Shaykh said, own your mistake. By the way, remember, you have to forgive me. It's your job. Do not demand forgiveness from the one you're wrong. Islam teaches us that, okay, when you make a mistake, you do your job. When you're being apologized to, you do your job. Everybody have to answer for themselves. As parents, please, as parents, do not read وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. As parents, read what is the haqq of your child and you. How to discipline them, how to teach them adab, how, God forbid, you can abuse them and don't, we have to know the warnings about my job as a father, as a mother. As children, please don't read up on the hadith that says, your parents has to do this for you. Dad, you have to pay for my wedding. Mom, you have to do this for me. Your job is not to read out on their responsibility. Your job as a child is to read on your responsibility. Everybody have to take their responsibility. So if I make mistakes, it's my job to accept. If I'm being asked as someone who made mistake in my haq, then forgiveness is my responsibility. Is what I'm directed toward. Not to say, oh, you should forgive me because Allah said so. You wronged them. You already did enough. Don't put salt on their wound. May Allah, by the honor of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, help us to, first of all, be wise enough not to make mistakes that are avoidable. Don't make everything in our lives a process of trial and error. Sometimes we can learn from the error and mistakes of others. And if, God forbid, there's a moment of weakness, there's once in a while that we have a slip, we have the ability and the strength to accept our mistake, to apologize with courage and bravery. And Allah give us the tawfiq to see the dhulm and injustices that we can commit. That don't say, oh, there's nothing that I should ask Allah for forgiveness. There's so much that we ignore around us. We don't even know what's happening. We don't know that maybe there are people that we hurt. Ya Allah, we know that we didn't mean it, but it did the effect. Even if I didn't mean it, Ya Allah, forgive me for those negligences. And Allah give us the tawfiq to have mercy toward others. Because Prophet said, Irham turham. Be merciful, be forgiven, be kind, and Allah will treat you more than you deserve. For the honor of Muhammad Sajjad, we say the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Abu Hamza al-Fumali is one of the Imam Sajjad's companion, one of the few, because we have that after Ashura only 3 to 5 Shia, that you can call them Shia, in their aqidah and their belief remained around Imam Sajjad. And 34 years later, Shaykh al-Tusi says the number of those companions came to around 170. So in 34 years, Imam was able to educate, cultivate 170 additional Shia and companion. Took a long time to build real people. Our brothers and sisters, it's not easy to change people's lives. But that's the work of the Imam. From 170 of Imam Zain al-Abidin, look at the millions who go on Arba'in walk, right? This is Allah's promise that if you plant the seed for the way of Allah, the same way you see how a crop will give you multiplying result, it will be with your good deeds if you do it for the sake of Allah. So Abu Hamza came to Imam al-Sajjad and said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, isn't it time for you to stop mourning for your father? It has been years since Karbala. And Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam made a dua for him. Said, may Allah be pleased with you, O Abu Hamza. I know that your intention was to comfort me. But O Abu Hamza, you should know about what we went through. This is a tragedy, this is a musibah that should not be forgotten. And these tears are a reminder of that. And Abu Hamza said the word that Imam said himself in Kufa, that you are a family that عادتكم القتل وكرامتكم الشهادة. You're a family of martyrdom, shahada, sacrifice. So it's not that you're no stranger to this tragedy and this musibah. And Imam asked a question. He said, oh Abu Hamza, tell me, yes, we are the family of shahada and martyrdom. But is our family and our women being in chains and shackles, being prisoners of war and captives, is that was our tradition as well? Laysa wallah. That was the first time in our family that they took our women and our children as captives. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyidi wa ya Mawlaya ya Aba Abdullah يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا ليتنا كنا معك فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. Ya Allah, give us a tawfiq of crying for the musibah of Abu Abdullah, these tears who washes away our sins. They asked Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, Ya ibn Rasulullah, you lost so many family members, you've seen so many losses. Which difficulty, which musibah was the most difficult for you to endure? And he repeated 3 times, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. These are the days as we approach month of Safar, is the time that the Ahlul Bayt of Imam al-Hussein, they arrive at the city of Sham. Why city of Sham? Why specifically this musibah? Because they made them wait behind the gate of city of Sham for 3 days and night under the sun. They decorated the city, they prepared celebration, a festival that we're going to celebrate the defeat of the enemies of Yazid. And once they brought them in the street of Sham, they began celebrating, dancing, singing around those who were mourning. These children, these orphans, these widows have to see the happiness, the joy of people who see the head of shuhada under the spears in front of them. It wasn't a long distance from the gate of city of Sham to the courtyard of Yazid, to the palace of Yazid. They left in the early morning, but they made them wait on the way. They arrived by the evening time at the palace of Yazid. We heard the musibah of Abu Abdullah and his family, but one musibah is the one that anyone with a child will understand, will feel the pain. And that is the musibah of the daughter of Abu Abdullah bin Hussein. Her name has been mentioned as Ruqayya, but again her real name is as Fatima Saghira or Sughra, but also is known as Sakina and as known as Ruqayya. but the narration says she was 3 or 4 years old. On the journey toward Kufa and Sham, every step of the way she would come to her aunt Zainab. Amma Zainab, tell me, where is my father? These children are calling me orphan and yatim. I told them that my father is alive. Tell me, where is my father? And Zainab, salamullah alayha, this is what they told to them. Imagine 3, 4 years old children. What Zainab told them, it said, my dear Ruqayya, your father had gone on a long journey. He will be back one day. But we have that when they arrived in the city of Sham, the people of Sham did something to these children that they made them cry the entire way until they were settled down in the ruins of Sham. In the ruins of Sham, they went to sleep. Imagine on their way, close your eyes for a second. Every step of the way from Kufa to Sham is a long distance. It took them a long time. They arrived in months of Safar, more than 20 days on their journey until they arrived. When they arrived in the city of Sham, every step of the way they were tortured, they were slapped, they were hit. Why? What was their crime? Because they see the head of Imam al-Hussein, they see the head of the martyrs on the spear, and they make them remind them of their losses, and they would cry. And we have the soldiers would tell them, stop crying, you are annoying us with your crying. And if they will not stop crying, they go at them with their whips, they go at them with their slaps until they stop crying. But when they arrived in the ruins of Sham, it was one of the time, after a long time, they had the time to cry and mourn for their losses. In the middle of the night, Ruqayya, this beloved daughter of Abu Abdullah, woke up from her sleep. Probably she saw her father in a dream. She suddenly called her Aunt Zainab, Amma Zainab, where is my father, Abu Abdullah? What do you want, my dear Ruqayya? What happened? She said that you told me my father been on a long journey. When is he going to be back? These people are calling me orphan. Over and over they remind me that I have no father, but I told them I have the best of fathers. Just wait for you to see him. We have the name of Hussein was mentioned, and now the entire ruins of Sham is filled with cries and weeping and tears. All the women, all the children remember the musibah of Abu Abdullah. Imam Zain al-Abidin is crying. Zainab Kulthum are crying. We have now the entire Kharaba, entire ruins of Sham is filled with the sound of tears and crying. Yazid woke up in the palace. What's going on? The messenger came that someone, one of the children, was asking for her father Hussein. He ordered, take the head of Hussein to them, make them be quiet, I want to go back to sleep. They placed the head of Abu Abdullah on a plate, covered it up, and brought it to the ruins of Sham. They brought it and placed it in front of this girl. Imagine 3, 4 years old girl. She asked her Aunt Zainab, my Aunt Zainab, I didn't ask for any food, I'm not hungry, I want my father, tell me where is my father? And Zainab, as her eyes is filled with tears, said, my dear Fatima Soghra, what you're looking for is under the cover, remove the cover. And as she removed the cover and saw the head of her father, what she said words that burned the heart of Zainab and Kulthum. She looked at her father, picked up the head of Abu Abdullah, placed it on her lap, and she said, my dear father, who has done this to you? Why your face is covered in your blood? Ya Abata, man alladhi aytamani fi sighar sinni. My dear father, who made me an orphan at such a young age? My father Hussein, who's gonna take care of us after this? What's the hope for life after I see your head like this? She started talking to the head of her father. She cried until a moment there is no voice, there is no sound of Ruqayya coming. Zainab approached Ruqayya. Maybe she finds some solace, some peace after talking to the head of her father. Then we have Zainab saw the lifeless body of Ruqayya by the side of the head of Abu Abdullah. We have that when Zainab came to the grave of Abu Abdullah, after saying salam to Hussein alayhi salam, after the isarat, after captivity, he said, Assalamu alayka ya akhi, ya Hussein, peace be upon you, my brother, my dear Hussein. I want to tell you that I did what you asked me to. I didn't show weakness in front of the enemy. I didn't let shaitan take away my sovereign patience. But I'm sorry, my brother Hussein, you trusted me with your your orphans, but I have to leave one of your daughters in the ruins of Sham. ولا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Ya Allah, by the honor of Awlad al-Hussein, all the children of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam, Sakina, Ruqayya, by the honor of messengers of Karbala, Imam al-Sajjad and Zainab and Kulthum salamullah alayhim, hasten the return of Imam al-Time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa-Zaman. Ya Allah, help us to be among the Shia, the awaiters, the followers of Imam al-Time, Ajjalallah ta'ala Fajr al-Sharif. Ya Allah, by the honor of Shuhada Karbala, all those who have their hajat, their needs before you, Ya Allah, fulfill those hajat that is for the khair of our dunya and akhirah. Ya Allah, for the honor of Ahlul Bayt, for the honor of Abu Abdullah Hussein, all those who have mareed, those who have patience in their families, Ya Allah, grant them with strength to overcome these difficulties and grant them with immediate shifa, healing and cure. Ya Allah, from this majlis send a gift, a thawab to the soul of all of our marhumeen, especially the marhumeen of the host of the majlis, and grant them the status of companionship of the Prophet and Imam al-Hussein in the Day of Judgment. Ya Allah, by the honor of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, give us the tawfiq of tawbah and repentance before it's too late, and let us leave this dunya with your mercy and with forgiveness and maghfirah. For the soul of all marhumeen, for the shifa of all the mareed, please recite Surah Fatiha with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. On the same topic, to all my mistake, I went over time, my apology. May Allah inshallah accept from all of you. I know it's a Wednesday night and next day is a working school day. May Allah inshallah accept from all of you. Let's inshallah finish with the Aza and Matam. Everybody stand up. Matam ya Hussein. 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 Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, नए सितम की हुई इब्तिदा हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, गोगर छिने है तमाचे लगे हैं गालों पर, गोगर छिने है तमाचे लगे हैं गालों पर, गोगर छिने है तमाचे लगे हैं गालों पर, वरक खुला है सितम का नया हुसैन के बाद, सकीना दे भी तो किसको सदा हुसैन के बाद, سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد گوہر چھنے ہے تماچے لگے گے گالوں پر گوہر چھنے ہے تماچے لگے ہیں گالوں پر ورق کھلا ہے ستم کا نیا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد دعائی دے تیتی عباس کی گھر ایک بی بی دعائی دے تیتی عباس کی گھر ایک بی بی دعائی دے تیتی عباس کی گھر ایک بی بی اسے خیام میں جب غش کیا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد پھوپھی یہ کہہ گئے کتی سجاد سے کہ لال میرے پھوپھی یہ کہہ گئے کتی سجاد سے کہ لال میرے پھوپھی یہ کہہ گئے کتی سجاد سے کہ لال میرے تم ہی امام حسین الابا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد اندھیری رات زینب کی گونجتی تھی صدا اندھیری رات میں زینب کی گونجتی تھی صدا اندھیری رات میں زینب کی گونجتی تھی صدا اب آئے وہ شگ مشکل کشا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد یہ بہن کرتی تھی زینب لغد پہ زغرا کی یہ بہن کرتی تھی زینب لغد پہ زغرا کی یہ بہن کرتی تھی زینب لغد پہ زغرا کی رسن سے چھل گیا بازو میرا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سر حسین کو دیکھا دونوں کے نیزہ پر سر حسین کو دیکھا دونوں کے نیزہ پر سر حسین کو دیکھا دونوں کے نیزہ پر تڑپ کے رہ گئے آلے کے بعد حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد نئے ستم کی ہوئی ابتدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد سکینہ دے بھی تو کس کو صدا حسین کے بعد یا حسین 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 یا حسین
جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، ہر دماچے بے سکینہ نے، ہر دماچے بے سکینہ نے پکارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ہے مارا بابا، ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے، ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے پکارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، وہ جو دریا اپنے تحفے میں مجھے بخشے تھے، وہ جو دریا اپنے تحفے میں مجھے بخشے تھے، ان کو بے درد سے ظالم نے اتارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا 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 بابا، ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے، ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے پکارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کر ہے تماچے مارے، مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کر ہے تماچے مارے، مجھے بالوں سے پکڑ کر ہے تماچے مارے، میں نے سر سے مانگا جو تمہارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے ماشاءاللہ بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے، ہر تماچے پہ سکینہ نے پکارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، ساتھ رہواروں کے دوڑایا گیا ہے مجھ کو، ساتھ رہواروں کے دوڑایا گیا ہے مجھ کو، ساتھ رہواروں کے دوڑایا گیا ہے مجھ کو، چور زخموں سے بدن میرا ہے سارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، جب مجھے آپ کے قاتل نے مارا بابا، कातिल ने है मारा बाबा। हर तमाचे पे सकीना ने, हर तमाचे पे सकीना ने पुकारा बाबा। जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा। आपके सीने पे आराम से सोने वाली, आपके सीने पे आराम से सोने वाली, आपके सीने पे आराम से सोने वाली, सोखे अब ख्वाब पे करती है गुजारा बाबा। जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا حاكم يوم الدين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا إمام حسن بن علي المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت بقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله الآخر لهت مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب وسوزا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا إمام زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا إمام محمد الباقر، السلام عليك يا إمام جعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا إمام موسى الكاظم، السلام عليك يا إمام علي الرضا، السلام عليك يا إمام محمد التقي، السلام عليك يا إمام علي النقي، السلام عليك يا إمام يا حسن بن علي الزكي العسكري، السلام عليك يا إمام يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان والشر الشيطان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.